Now, I know you are raising money for the film on an equity crowdfunding site, and you've briefed us a little bit behind the scenes that there are certain things you can't talk about, and forgive me if I overstep the bounds, so please stop me at any moment if it's something, because I'm used to interviewing people that have been on, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, some of these other sites. So what is equity crowdfunding, first and foremost? What is it? How is it different from Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
Well, it's a new law that's just come into effect. It's only been around for a year. It went into effect in 2016. And it's called regulation crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding, investment crowdfunding. And before this law came into effect, if you wanted to invest in a startup like Facebook or something like that when they were first starting up, legally, you had to be what they call a high net worth individual. You had to be somebody, I believe, you make over $200,000 a year or have over $1 million in net worth. And that left out 90% of the population. 90% of the population could not invest in these. Only these venture capitalists and these really wealthy people could do it. But this new law came into effect that allows other businesses to raise money to everyone. The average person can invest in something with equity crowdfunding. And you couldn't do that before. And the difference between this and Kickstarter is when you put money into an equity crowdfunding project like ours, if you did on Kickstarter, they'd give you a DVD or a t-shirt or something like that. This, you get a piece of the company. If the movie makes money, you make money. So you enjoy the success or failure. If the movie fails, of course, movies can always crash and burn. Anything can crash and burn. But if it succeeds, you go along for the ride. So that's the big difference. A lot of companies are doing it. A lot of microbreweries, restaurants, coffee companies, they've all successfully raised millions of dollars. Electric cars, there's a new electric car out there. There's a guy who successfully raised millions of dollars for a jetpack. The first non-military jetpack.
It's good to have, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, they have the video, it's real, it works, and you can put money into that company and things like that. There's Tampon of the Month Club.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's, I mean, everything you could possibly imagine. There's somebody starting up a company under this new law. We are the first feature-length narrative film to raise money this way in the United States. There have been a couple in Europe, a couple in Asia, but we're the first ones in America to do this with a feature-length film. One other company did a collection of short films, but we're the first ones to do a full-length narrative film. And it's really exciting. It's cool because it's new and nobody's done it, so it's really exciting. And we're succeeding. It's going well.
It is. I don't know if you're allowed, forgive me if I'm overstepping my bounds, we can cut this out, but are you allowed, if I say the dollar amount, I mean, you've done very well since April of 2017 is when you launched the campaign, right?
Yes, we're doing well. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, regulates this offering. It's not like Kickstarter where anybody can just do it. There's a lot more involved in us making this offering, and they have rules about what we can talk about.
Okay.
And we can't actually talk about dollar amounts. People have to go to the website,
sure,
and all the information is right there. It's super easy to read, and all that's right there. But I can tell you this. For a year previously, before we did the equity crowdfund campaign, I went around and talked to rich people, people outside the business who were wealthy, and I tried to talk to them to raise money, and I raised a little money. It took a year. In 7 weeks, I have raised 140% of what I raised in a year talking to rich people.
Wow.
So I love equity crowdfunding because instead of having to convince a few individuals with money to write a check, you can talk to the whole world. International investors, we have investors from Australia and Europe who are putting money in. Anyone can invest in this, anyone. And it's really exciting because we just have to get the message out to the crowd, and people who get it, people who get the movie that we're doing, who understand it, are like, oh, this is fun. It's an investment too, cool. So instead of, let me tell you a story about one investor I talked to. I was talking to this very wealthy fellow, nice guy. We're sitting in wing-back chairs next to his private lake, okay? I felt like I was in the movie Casablanca with Sidney Greenstein. And I'm pitching him a project, and he says, well, this lead character he read the script, and he's not in the business, so he's not used to reading scripts. He's used to reading, you know, flow charts and accounting statements and profit and loss sheets. But he read this script and he says, you know, in the beginning of this movie, I don't like the lead character. She's not very likable. I said, well, yeah, but you like her later? He goes, yeah, I like her by the end. I go, well, that's the idea, is that she changes. Movies have an arc where the character starts out a certain way. They go through the story, and if it's an upbeat ending, if it's a comedy, then they improve their life. They find love, they find success, whatever, they find it, and we go along the journey. So she changes. And he goes, but I don't like her in the beginning. I said, right, and I explained it again, what an arc was, and I'm sure a lot of the people who are your readers who go to your site, a lot of them are writers, they understand this. In a movie, you change, there's an arc. So we talked for 20 minutes like this, and he kept saying, but I don't like her in the beginning. And finally, I said to the guy, I said, you know, there was a character in a movie. She was very mean. She used people. She didn't care about anybody but herself. She was selfish. She was basically just a horrible bitch. And this character was the lead character in the highest grossing film of all time called Gone with the Wind. And and this guy was in his 70s. So he knew that movie.
So he got that
and
one,
he goes, oh. Oh. And it was just surreal having this conversation with this guy here, trying to explain this to him. And it wasn't his business, so he didn't understand it because he didn't get this business. Whereas when we do the crowdfunding, the equity crowdfunding, a lot of people, even if it's not their business, they get it. They've thought about it, you know? They've thought, oh, that would be fun. And so they get it. And it's such a tremendous release when you get it. On our Facebook page, we have a Facebook page for the movie, for That Christmas Movie on Facebook. And it's so, we had, last week, you know, we make little posts about the movie and who's in it and stuff like that. And we had a sweet little grandma from Missouri. She posted, "This is great, thumbs up." And it was so heartwarming to see that we reached some sweet lady, you know, that we didn't know in the middle of nowhere, and she gets us. And as filmmakers and writers, there's nothing better than when people get what you're doing.